The self-manifestation of God or Tajalli is the important axis employed by Ibn Arabi to investigate the ontological cause of the diversity of religions and beliefs. As we have stated several times before, the Tajalli is the main basis of religious diversity. Al-Haq or God as the One is the cause of the difference in belief itself because He manifests Himself in various beliefs. However, this is actually a reciprocal relationship that not only does Al-Haq manifest Himself according to one's belief, but one's belief also determines how and in what form Al-Haq manifests Himself. So from a human perspective, the diversity of religions and beliefs is determined by the preparedness and acceptance of each human being where he is the vessel of the Tajalli of Al-Haq. In other words, religious diversity is a consequence of differences in human preparedness or capacity to receive his Tajalli. Thus, according to Ibn Arabi, the Tajalli cannot be separated from human response. There is an ontological interaction between the Tajalli and the recipient's response, so that the interaction produces a form of creed or i'tiqad, and this Tajalli is nothing but the manifestation of the divine names. However, regarding this, Ibn Arabi doesn't tell us about by which name Al-Haq manifests himself in this religion or by which name Al-Haq manifests himself in that religion. Indeed, Ibn Arabi alludes to non-Muslims such as Jews, Christians, polytheists, pagans, atheists, and naturalists, but he doesn't give a detailed account of the different qualities of the Tajalli and the divine names that manifest in them. Afifi, one of Ibn Arabi's commentators, only emphasizes that on the ontological level, in the sight of God, there is no difference between disobedience and obedience, between disbelief and belief, because God has two attributes, beauty and majesty. Atheists and idolaters are the Tajalli of the divine names such as the compeller, the subduer, the humiliator, the torturer. All of these names are included in God's majesty, while the believers and pious people are the Tajalli of the divine names such as the guide, the merciful, and the most loving. These names are included in God's beauty. So actually a person, say a Muslim, absolutely has no authority to revile other religions or beliefs, because the religious diversity is caused by the Tajalli of Al-Haq itself. This means that when a person reviles another person's belief, he reviles the Tajalli of Al-Haq. It is very clear that the religious diversity or difference in belief is completely beyond human authority. In the Quran it is said, "Had God willed, they wouldn't have ascribed partners unto God. We have not made thee a keeper over them, nor art thou their guardian. Do not revile those whom they call upon apart from God, lest they should revile God out of enmity without any knowledge. Thus have we made the deeds of every community seem fair unto them. Then unto their Lord shall be their return, and he will inform them of that which they used to do." Even as a reminder, to convert one's faith is completely beyond the authority of the Prophet. As emphasized in the Quran, so remind, thou art but a reminder, thou art not a warder over them. Ibn Arabi says, God is wise without qualification. It is He who has put things in their places. It is He who has given each thing its creation. Hence, God has made no error in engendered existence in relation to its order. People like us who have an overview of all the stations and levels, distinguishing from whence every individual speaks and discourses, and recognizes that each is correct in his own level and makes no errors. Indeed, there is absolutely no error in the cosmos. The idea that there is no error in the cosmos, so all beliefs are said to be true, is certainly based on the basic teaching of Ibn Arabi, that is wahdatul wujud, the unity of being, which brings us back to look at its axis, namely the Tajalli of Al-Haq. According to Ibn Arabi, God is always with all humans, all adherents of any creed, because they all reflect the many of the one. It is important to remember that the diversity of beliefs is also a consequence of the fact that humans delimit and not God according to their individual preparedness. Therefore, if the nothing is said to be wrong, it is very impossible, because the nothing itself is a form of the Tajalli of Al-Haq. In this regard, Ibn Arabi says that God forgives all, meaning that God forgives all conceptions of the believers about God. because that is the limit of human knowledge and experience of God, who in himself is unlimited and cannot be limited. In this respect, Ibn Arabi connects tajalli with Sharia of the Prophet and messengers. The self-manifestations of God vary due to the diversity of Sharia. Sharia here is a way for every believer to arrive at God. It is worthy noting that Ibn Arabi uses the term Sharia in two senses. First, Sharia refers to revelation in general, namely the word of God which was revealed to the prophets from Adam to the Prophet Muhammad, which later becomes the historical religions in the history of mankind. And second, Sharia refers to the religious law for the regularity of human life in the world, one of which is the Islamic law. Ibn Arabi in Futuhat describes in detail about the origin of the religious diversity. Let's start from the differences in Sharia. The diversity of the Sharia is caused by the diversity of the divine relationships. God's relationship with a prophet is different from his relationship with other prophets. Therefore, the Sharia which was received and then taught by the prophet to his people was different from the Sharia which was accepted and taught by another prophet. This is what the Quran means. For each among you we have appointed a law and a way, and had God willed, he would have made you one community. But he willed otherwise, that he might try you in that which he has given you. In Ibn Arabi's own words, we know for certain that God's relationship to Prophet Muhammad in what he revealed to him as a religion is different from his relationship to any other prophet. Were this not so, and were the relationship one in every respect, that is the relationship that demands revelation of the specific law, then the revealed religion would be one in every respect. Then why are the divine relationships diverse? Ibn Arabi replies, one person has the state of illness, he calls out, O cure-giver, O healer. Another is hungry and calls out, O provider. Still another is drowning and calls out, O helper. Hence the relationships are diverse because of the diversity of the states. This is indicated by God's words, every day he is upon task. So which of your Lord's bones do you to deny? We shall have leisure for you both, O weighty ones. It is also indicated by the Prophet's words while describing his Lord with the scales in his hand. He lets down and lifts up. Because of the state of the scales, God is called uplifter and downletter. In the same way, these various relationships becomes manifest in the diversity of the states of the creatures. Thus, the diversity of the relationships is due to the diversity of the states. Then what causes the diversity of the states? Ibn Arabi replies, the cause of the diverse states of the creatures is the diverse times in which they dwell. Their state in the time of spring differs from their state in the time of summer. Their state in the time of summer differs from their state in the time of autumn. Their state in the time of autumn differs from their state in the time of winter. And their state in the time of winter differs from their state in the time of spring. Then what causes the diversity of the times? According to Ibn Arabi, it is due to the diversity of the movements. He explains, I mean by movements, the movements of the celestial spheres. For these movements give rise to night and day and delineate the years, months and seasons. All this is what is known as the times. Then what causes the diversity of the movements? According to Ibn Arabi, it is caused by the diversity of the attentiveness. He says, I mean by attentiveness, God's turning his attention toward the movements to bring them into existence. God says, our only speech to a thing when we desire it is to say it be, and it is. If the attentiveness toward the movements were single, the movements would not become diverse, but they are diverse. This proves that the attentiveness that moves the moon in its sphere is different from that which moves the sun in its sphere, or those which move the other planets and spheres. Were this not the case, the speed or slowness of all of them would be the same. God says, each of them floats in a sphere. Each movement has a divine attentiveness that is a specific divine connection to it in respect of the fact that he is the desiring. Then why is there the diversity of the attentivenesses? According to Ibn Arabi, it is because of the diversity of the calls. He states, if the call of the attentiveness that causes the moon's movement were the same as the call of that which causes the sun's movement, no effect would become distinct from any other effect. But the effects are diverse without doubt, as the attentivenesses are diverse because of the difference in calls. Thus, God's attentiveness with good pleasure toward Zaid is different from his attentiveness with Ruth toward Amr, for his goal is to chastise Amr and to give bliss to Zaid, so the calls are diverse. Then what causes the diversity of the calls? Ibn Arabi replies that the self-manifestations are the cause of the diversity of the cause. He asserts, if the self-manifestation of God were one in every respect, he could have no more than a single call. But the diversity of God has been established, so every specific call must have a specific self-manifestation that is different from every other self-manifestation. For the divine vastness demands that nothing be repeated in existence. It is this fact upon which a group of the Sufis depend, even though the people are in confusion as to a new creation. Sheikh Abu Talib al-Maki, author of Qutul Qulub, and other men of God have said, God never manifests himself in a single form to two individuals, nor in a single form twice. That is why effects are diverse in the cosmos. Then why are God's self-manifestations diverse? Ibn Arabi replies that it is caused by the diversity of the Shari'ahs. Ibn Arabi states, each Shari'ah is a path that takes to God, and these paths are diverse. Hence the self-manifestations must be diverse, just as divine gifts are diverse. Do you not see what happens when he manifests himself to this community at the resurrection? While within it are hypocrites. Moreover, people's views of the revealed law are diverse. Each possessor of independent judgment has his own specific law that is a path to God. That is why the schools of law are diverse, even though each is revealed law within a single revealed religion. And God has established this for us on the tongue of His messenger. So the self-manifestations are diverse without doubt. Each group has believed something concerning God. If God manifests himself to them in other than that something, they will deny him. But when he manifests himself in the mark that they have established for God in themselves, they will acknowledge him. So if we are asked again what causes the diversity of the Shari'ahs, the answer would return to what we stated earlier. Thus, Ibn Arabi sketches his cyclical view of the ontological cause of the religious diversity. According to Ibn Arabi, there are two types of religion. Religion that comes from God and religion that comes from the created beings. The former, according to him, occupies a higher position than the latter. Quote, religion expresses your submission. That which comes from God is the law to which you submit. Religion means submission, and the law is the law which God promulgated. Whoever is qualified as yielding to God's law is the one who carries out the orders of the religion and maintains them, as one who performs the prayer. The servant is one who maintains religion, and al-haq promulgates the laws. And submission is the essence of your act, and religion comes out of your act. So religion, or deen, that comes from God is a law, sharia, or regulation that human beings must obey. This is deen as an ideal system, which is what Abraham enjoined to his children as mentioned in the Quran. And Abraham enjoined the same upon his children, as did Jacob. O my children, God has chosen for you the religion, so die not except in submission. Deen in this ideal form is one because it also comes from the one. But when it manifests itself in many forms, it adapts to the cultural context of the people it targets. Moreover, deen that comes from God means nothing if it is not obeyed by mankind. In this regard, the deen must be understood and interpreted by humans. Thus, human understanding or interpretation of deen is a human act and creation. This deen which is for man is submission and obedience. Deen in this respect is not an ideal system, but has become a personal deen, a personal quality which of course is individual, not collective. The ideal deen, when received and responded to by humans, becomes the historical deen. This historical deen definitely follows human history in which humans intervene. Deen is understood with various interpretations, which in turn gives birth to many concepts, understandings, views, and schools. Quote, God is known through every nothing. Although the beliefs are totally diverse, the aim is one. He is a receptacle for everything that you tie him to, and every nothing you make concerning him. And within that, he will disclose himself on the day of resurrection. For it is the mark which is between you and him. I'll see you next time.